Well, Russia has condemned the United Nations for refusing to investigate who the heck is shelling the Zaporozhye power plant. Russia has called on the International Atomic Agency, let me say that again, International Atomic Energy Agency, to investigate this shelling in the region, but their response is no can do. I think it's worth noting before we go on in this story, all of these investigations that we Westerners do not get, given how much the mainstream media wants us all to hate Russia and embrace Ukraine. We should be wary when we get non-committal answers to questions like, who's shelling the power plant in Zaporizhzhia? I can think of a couple other questions. Who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline?
Good question.
We know exactly that there was bomb fragments. Who put them there?
Massive residue from explosions.
Who accidentally launched a missile into Poland? Who is committing war crimes and executing soldiers on camera? Who are these things? When the answer might be Russia, well, the media screams about it. But when it's clear that it's not Russia, and there may be some doubt that maybe would dampen our support for Ukraine, we get this head in the sand syndrome. So what's going on here, right?
Is that me in the head? It looks like me with my head.
It does kind of look like you. No,
the one
it's
on
just
the left.
a graphic.
The one on the left.
But this does very much feel like when we ask questions like this, it's like, no, we told you it happened. You should just be happy with that. Do you want to investigate?
No, we'll just stick our head in the sands.
But I can see Russia from my house. That's the Tina Fey line, right?
I want to say White Lightning 777 sent a super chat that says, I just researched S-300. If it misses the target in midair, it's supposed to self-destruct. Multiple sources confirm this.
What is the
S-300, of course, is the missile that hit Poland.
That's the missile.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting. I've seen a couple of different interesting takes on that in the chat, so thank you for that. Now back to the shelling of the nuclear plant in Zaporizhzhia. Russia says that it has sent information to the IAEA about these attacks, including photos and videos, because you recall in around August time this summer, the IAEA said, we're going to go to Zaporizhzhia. This seems dangerous. We're going to go see what's going on there. They went, they shook some hands, and they said, thanks, this should stop. We don't like it. And then they left. They never told us who was doing it. They said they weren't in a position to do so, but they just continued to condemn the attacks. Russia continues to document these attacks, and the IAEA did actually leave people behind to continue to monitor the situation. But it seems that all they are doing is monitoring whether or not it's volatile, and they continue to say that it's volatile. But, are they collecting this proof that Russia is sending to them? Are they going to follow up on that? If they feel like they can't do that, who should we ask? We should all want a straight answer on this, no matter who you support in this conflict. Now, Russia said this in a statement. This was, according to Russian statement, an official government document, but I did push translate on it. So this is the translation from that site itself.
From Maria? Okay.
So, yes, from this spokesperson, saying, we are convinced that in such an unprecedented circumstances, the top directors at the IAEA Secretariat must take a responsible action. This is Russia saying this. As an authoritative and independent international body, it should stop denouncing the shelling of the plant and stop demanding it be stopped without naming the responsible party. It should clearly say who it is to blame for these attacks. It's time to call a spade a spade. Otherwise, it is impossible to stop this happening. This requires determination and responsibility. We hope these qualities will be displayed. So, like when your kids are fighting in the back, you have to say who's hitting who to make them stop it, right? You can't just yell out, nobody in the car hit each other. If you know who's hitting, make them stop it.
Well, that's kind of how I handle it, though. I kind of I don't care who it is, just shut up back there. Don't make Daddy turn this car around.
That's why it's not effective. They don't hear you because you have to be nasty and say stop it to whoever is doing it.
Or just slam the brakes.
Yeah.
Then they'll know I'm serious. Then their eyes will be like, what? Daddy's serious now. Really, I'm going to pull this thing over, and unless we get some answers.
So, interesting question. You might think to yourself, maybe the IAEA is not capable of this. Maybe they're just kind of, nuclear janitors. Like if something happens, they can go and clean it up. or hall pass monitors. Like they could say, get back to class, don't do this. When officials from this agency, though, visited, they said, we can't really tell you, who's doing this. We just think it's dangerous, which we sent them there because we all knew that it was dangerous, right? That's why all nation states agreed that they should go. They did release a statement on their website today saying, we've looked this stuff over. We think that everything there is pretty okay for now. There's, there was some like residue, but seems okay. We're not too worried, as you were. Remember that in this summer, when the general inspector went to the Zaporozhye power plant, said that he was going to delay his holiday with his family because this was important. So he went, and no conclusion. When Christian Amanpour asked him, why can't you tell us who's doing this? This was his response.
And let me just ask you, out and out, is it safe? Do we risk a threat of any meltdown or radiation leak or such thing right now?
Thank you very much. Good to be with you again. The situation is very worrying, continues to be very worrying. I was there, as you said, last week. I returned, and the shelling continues. So we are still facing a very grave danger. In your question, there were a number of things you mentioned in terms of a meltdown. I doubt it, but the mere fact that there is a continuity of attacks and shelling, deliberate or not, wittingly or unwittingly, people are hitting a nuclear power plant, the largest in Europe. So I must say that the danger continues.
So when you say people are hitting, can you make a determination as to who is hitting?
I cannot make that determination. We don't have the means to do that. As you know, you would need to be looking or monitoring the military operation in the region in all its vastness, which is not only beyond the mandate of the IAEA, but would require enormous capabilities. What we know, and that is my responsibility, is to look at the safety and the security of the facility, to determine what is really going on. And this is why my visit there, the inspection there, and the fact that now...
Okay, all he did was say that this is dangerous for like 3 minutes. But then he did contradict himself and said, my job is to make sure that it's safe and that it stops. But you're not doing any of that. You're just watching and telling us that it's safe. I mean, I'm here in Portugal and I'm watching and telling you that it's not safe. Like, I just did your job. So how about you go and figure out who's doing it and make it stop? When he says we don't have the personnel for that, we don't have, we're not trained at that, we can't really monitor military operation. That's so interesting that they don't have the bandwidth for it, because guess what they really, really do have a lot of bandwidth for is Iran. Just today, or just this week, they announced a whole round of new censures for Iran because they say that Iran is not sufficiently cooperating with the Board of Governors. So they have all the time in the world to get into Iran, investigate and investigate and investigate. And when Iran says, we let them in, we showed them what they wanted to see, and they said, not enough. We want more time there. We want more investigations. And so Iran turned around and said, well, then we're going to keep enriching uranium, and we're going to do it the way we want because your demands are unreasonable. Iran is enriching uranium for nuclear power plants. They are enriching uranium well below the 90% purity required for a weapon. Right now, they say they are at a 60% purity. We know this because state media said so. They are not hiding it, but they are being censured because they do not want to cooperate with the IAEA. So in response, they decided, well, we can't abide by these rules, then we're going to do what we want. Now, Is Iran doing something nefarious? We don't know, but we also don't know a lot from the IAEA, so we can't really take their word for it. In Iran, the plants were attacked in April. They say it was Israel that did so. The IAEA is, again, not really that interested in who did it. They did not really look into it, but they'll look into exactly what Iran is up to and cause problems if they don't get an all-access pass. But in Zaporozhye, all they want to do is condemn, and then not much else. So the IAEA cannot be neutral, clearly.
Clearly. Well, we've got more news to get to here.
I think I could back up all these rules if there wasn't one country that breaks them on a daily basis that nobody holds them accountable for everything or anything. Right. The United States. So it's like we should not be able to tell another country, like they should be able to do at least what we're doing.
No, people in the chat are saying no. They're just doing the U.S.'s bidding. The IAEA, they're just mouth pieces.
Well, the IAEA is connected to the United Nations.
Of course.
And so the United Nations, yes, is an armed piece of the West with the U.S. as its ringleader. So that's why, condemn Ukraine, condemn Israel. Cannot do it.
Cannot do it. We can't possibly do it. But we've got more news to get to here on this Tuesday. Someone in our Rumble chat, Rob RAF, I don't know if that's Royal Air Force, Rob Royal Air Force, or just Rob RAF, says, Redacted are idiots or do not understand what they read. 3 exclamation marks. The original report says that Ukraine fired the missile. 3 exclamation points. No, it didn't, Rob. The correction went back and changed the original story. And so here they've corrected and updated it. So the original AP story, Rob, so we're not idiots, just to be clear. I mean, sometimes we're idiots, but maybe you can take it back. In earlier versions of a story published November 15th, the Associated Press reported erroneously, based on information from a senior American intelligence official who spoke on the condition of anonymity, that Russian missiles had crossed into Poland and killed 2 people. So, Rob, just check your reading skills, okay? Before you lob some insults. Before you're lobbing missiles.
Does Rob work for the Biden administration?
I don't know. Rob, do you work for the Biden administration?
Although the Biden administration was one of the first to say that's not what the data shows.
Even the Pentagon.
We can't even...
One of the first confirmations that this was not from Russia was from the Pentagon.
Yeah.
That couldn't confirm it. So, like, the AP ran with it. All of these news publications were all over it, like stink on a monkey.
Yeah.
And good.
So that was unnecessary. I didn't need to have said that about the Biden administration. I take that jab back. It was an unforced error, as we call in this house. When you hit at somebody, like, you don't need to have taken that shot, and you do. It's unprovoked. That was an unforced error. I take it back.
The Philadelphia in me comes out when... well, you knock him down? Now why you try knocking me down? You make a comment like that. All right, we've got more news to get to on this Tuesday. That's my Rocky Balboa. Yeah, we've got more news. We're going to talk about these colleges still mandating the vaccine, which is crazy, heading into the spring. Like, what the hell? Really, at this point? And we're going to hear from Dr. Fauci, because today was his final press conference. For his COVID press conference. Going into the holidays, he's taking the time off. He's quitting. He's done now for good. And we're going to talk about some woke football as well.